Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Spooky Japan Podcast. Before we get in today with today's guest, let's just go ahead and talk about a lot of things on people's mind. What's going on in Japan right now? So, Japan late last week had two earthquakes. One hit the first one hit down where I live. It was a 7.1. They predicted another one to happen, and it did where Irene lives.
Yeah.
It's more common for her to get earthquakes up there than it is here. That's why the one down here shocked most people. Now they are saying that we are expecting, and they're saying it's no longer an if, but it's a when. We are now
Mm-hmm.
going to be expecting a mega quake that's going to at least be a 9.0, which means more than likely because it's either going to hit me or it's going to hit her with the epicenter. It doesn't matter where the epicenter is. One
Yeah.
that big, we're both probably going to feel it.
Yeah.
So everyone's preparing for that.
Yeah. I thought we were good enough with that, but then there's going to be a huge um, uh, typhoon or tropical storm coming on top of that. So, like, everyone's buying toilet paper and everyone's buying rice, sacks of rice to, and water is like they're just going crazy in the grocery store. So you're not going to find any toilet paper, you're not going to find any rice, and you're not going to find water anymore. So it's just like,
Hmm.
I thought COVID was bad, but this is really ridiculous, right? Like, if you're gonna buy rice, how are you gonna steam it with? Because you need electricity to steam to use your rice cooker, right? And yeah, it's just okay, whatever. Like, you know, I mean, whatever turns you on, that's fine with me. I don't care. But yeah, it's just going crazy in this country, and rice has gone up in considerably amount of money. It's almost tripled in and for 10 kilograms rice, 10 kilograms of rice. So yeah, if you pay about 20 to 30 bucks, you're about to pay maybe 60 or 70 bucks for ten
Oh, wow.
kilograms. So be on the lookout. We're gonna watch out. We're gonna be careful. And yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do, right? You're gonna get an earthquake, right? You can't predict where, when, and how, and so you just sit like wait, like sitting ducks.
Mm.
I
That's
mean,
cool.
yeah, it's gonna happen. Fortunately,
Yeah,
when it's gonna happen at this
yeah.
point, yeah, they have been expecting this mega quake for a while now. They thought it was probably going to happen a lot later, but now they're
Hmm.
saying it's probably going to happen here a lot
Hmm.
sooner. So yeah,
Yeah,
we just get to
yeah.
kind of
We
sit
just
around and wait for that to happen.
yeah. Like, what are you
Correct.
gonna do? Like,
How you
yeah,
doing, Ted?
lunch. Yeah, like how can you prepare? You really can't, right? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm glad my house is brand new. Well, it was built 4 years ago because I just moved here 4 years ago. But yeah, the building code is a little bit stiffer in Japan, so it doesn't
Hmm.
really fall apart. The ones that you have to watch out are the old buildings, and and the big and the big high rises, and the epicenter, like the buildings in Tokyo, in the middle of Tokyo. You have to watch out for those too, because glass can come crashing down. It's just really crazy. The one that where Amanda lives is in southern part of Kyushu Island, and they have a lot of live volcanoes there. So my husband's, yeah, that's bound to happen there. So it's nothing new to him what he said, but I I live in an earthquake alley. Okay, so if I'm on a podcast and you see me walking holding up my furniture, yeah, that's what happens. And I
She's
say,
so
okay,
used to it. It's happened before.
Mm.
yeah. And I'm saying, okay, another earthquake, okay, good. And at night, if it happens at 4 o'clock in the night, middle of the night, you bet I'm gonna be singing under my covers. I'm not gonna come out of my bed. I'm not gonna hold up furniture. I'm gonna say, hell with it, I'm going back to bed. I just don't worry about it.
Boy, that's crazy.
Oh well, another earthquake, okay. Yeah, don't wake me up, let me go back to bed, good night.
Mm.
So anyways, that's about that one. Okay, let's get back to part
Anyway,
two.
so today we have Tim, or AKA T Dawg for Riverbend Paranormal.
Yeah.
How you doing today, Tim?
Good. Not too bad at all. Was happy to be on here with you guys. Talk with you tonight.
Happy to
Thank
have
you.
you. So, for
Thank you for
our
coming.
listeners out there who may not be aware of who you are, how would you introduce yourself and where did your journey into the paranormal begin?
I've been in the paranormal field for just going on 25 years now. Uh, Started in my mid 20s. I basically got started because all through my childhood and growing up, I would always hear stories from family and friends about different experiences they had in the paranormal field. And I never had any. So I was kind of like jealous to hear all these cool stories. And I was like, I want to have some cool experiences for myself and have some stories to tell for myself. So I started investigating uh, with some friends and family members and just been doing it ever since. And just, over the last 25 years, the paranormal field has grown quite a bit. And uh, famous locations have been popping up left and right. Every time you turn around, there's a new location out there. But we started off small. We were doing cemeteries and abandoned locations and stuff like that. And then eventually we started hitting some of the bigger name places. Uh,
Hmm.
and it's been doing it ever since. I've grown a love for it. And I'm very passionate about what I do and the places I go and the history of these locations.
Hmm.
And just being on the road, going to these locations, there's a lot to see and do as they're on the road traveling to these locations, the little mom and pop restaurants, the little historical sites and stuff.
Hmm.
So it's a lifestyle. Whether you can do it or you can't. And if you enjoy what you love, you just get out there and do it. And I love what I do, so I've just been continuing my journey.
Have you ever had any experiences that maybe were a little bit, or investigated any places maybe that were a little bit too scary for you?
I wouldn't say too scary. I've had some moments that were kind of you know had you on edge a little bit, but as far as any place, there's been some intimidating places. I can tell you, like if you pull up to this place I'm going this weekend, Brushy Mountain Penitentiary.
Hmm.
When you first pull up to this place, it's in the middle of the mountains. It's an old prison that's got that Gothic castle look to it. It's got a mountain wall that goes behind the whole back half of the prison.
Hmm.
So yeah, when you pull up on that place, it can be pretty intimidating because if you put yourself in an inmate's perspective back when it was open, if you were to pull up on that on the prison bus and get out and take a look at that prison, you're like, holy shit, I got to spend the next 20 years in this place. So
Hmm.
there are some places that can be intimidating by first sight for sure.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, yeah. So it depends on where you go and what your fear level is at. I've learned to control my fears as far as the time that I put in the field, and I don't get spooked out by too much. But yes, some places are can be more intimidating
Yeah.
than others for sure.
I think one of
Um.
my biggest nightmares is the places where people haunt where they work, and I'm like that to me would be a nightmare. Haunt
Hmm.
the place you work, so
Right,
you basically never are clocking out.
right, exactly, exactly, for sure.
Yeah. I
Hello.
used to work at a haunted hotel, and that was that was it. Was, yeah, it was crazy. Fun but crazy.
Usually the haunted hotels, it's a previous guest who haunts it, but I've actually had like workplaces, especially like retail work,
Mm,
where there's still for some odd reason still a ghost hanging by that used to work there, and I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
right,
Are you stuck? Because that would not be the place I choose to haunt. It would be
at
my
work.
workplace.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you there. I wouldn't want to be stuck at work.
Like every day. Are you kidding? Right?
I feel like that'd have to be a punishment for you to
Yeah,
Yeah.
haunt.
to
For
spend
you.
your years there working and then spend the afterlife there too. That would
Um.
be, yeah, punishment for sure.
Unless you really liked it, you don't want
Yeah,
to.
Or
of
like
course.
who really truly likes where they work though?
Yeah.
True, true.
Mm, I don't know.
I was gonna say, like, I can't imagine someone liking their workplace so much they want to haunt it for all
Yeah.
eternity.
Unless they hated the staff there that really made him die, right? So,
Hmm.
like, I'm gonna come after you because you gave me a heart attack and you made me sick and then I died because of you, and so I'm gonna go and haunt you, right? So, but apparently that does happen. You know that,
Hmm.
you know, and especially if you're at work, it happens, right? Whether you like it or whether you like the workplace or you don't hate the workplace, but stuff does happen, and
For
you can't,
sure.
and when it happens, it happens. You can't do anything about it. You die, you're dead, and you
Right.
can't come back, and that's it. You're 6 feet under, right?
Yep. Yep. In most
So,
cases. Yep.
you know,
So do you guys have a lot of locations out there in Japan that do you guys get out and investigate, or is there
So it's
places?
different here in a
yeah,
paranormal than it is back in the States, where you can't just book a private investigation here. Place
yeah,
is haunted because people in Japan are more. And someone else locally said this to me, and look, thinking about it makes so much more sense.
hmm,
People of Japan are more superstitious than they're even
hmm,
anything else, even religious. So
yeah,
superstitious, they're afraid if you mess with a spirit, it's gonna get angry, and I don't think they know how to handle an angry spirit. They
no,
just make a shrine and hope it appeases it enough to leave them alone.
yeah,
So if anything is considered haunted, they board it up to the public because they're just like, nope, you're not gonna go in there, you're not gonna mess with it, you're not gonna make it mad, not
yeah,
in case it releases and it wreaks havoc. We
yeah,
just don't mess with it.
or they give you a stupid reason, like there's a cave where a lot of people have a lot of samurai warriors have unalived themselves. I hate that word. I'm sorry about that. We're gonna use that word. Anyways, uh they said that the rocks might fall in the cave, but we know that's baloney, right? I mean, yeah, that's not gonna happen. They just don't want you to go in there messing in there, right? That's why.
Right.
Because they think that you're gonna harm them or they're gonna harm you. Which is really rare that happens, right? um it happens once in a blue moon in this country. There are places that you shouldn't be going if you don't know how to handle yourself, right? Yeah, I get that. But I mean, the rocks are gonna fall on your head and you're gonna get hurt. Yeah, give me another story, right,
Right.
Amanda? It's just, yeah, so they all fence it all off so nobody can go in there, but you can see the area. It's right in front of your face, but yeah, they just block it off and you just can't get in there. And you know what? It's really good to investigate as a paranormal wise, because you're good. You just want to see what's there, and probably get some answers and probably learn from it, right? We all find this as a learning experience for us, right?
Of course.
And we want to learn from it, but in this country, no, you don't want to disturb it. Nope, it's gonna bother you. No, it's gonna come after you. Well, how do you know that if you haven't even tried to even find out about it, right? There's no memos, or there's no documented real documented history about it that it's going to come after you, right? Sure, there are places that do that here. Yeah, this country's weird. This country's old. This country has a lot of dark history to it. Of course, like every old country has one. But
Of course.
there is no proof that they're going to come and attack you, right? So,
It's more of the fear of what if they do.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
it's like, what if this? What if that? Like, sorry, but that I don't
That's
find what.
why there's a lot of shrines here in Japan,
Yeah,
basically just built to appease a spirit, and that's one thing I've learned being over here is they just do what they can to appease it and hope it leaves them alone.
yeah.
And
And Amanda,
speaking of you being in Japan, what brought you to Japan, Amanda?
My husband's in the Navy, so
Mm. Okay. Okay. Makes sense.
yeah.
That's it.
But when
Awesome.
Amanda went to Kyoto, she went to many shrines and she took a lot of pictures. And when she sent it to me, I go, oh, look at
yeah.
that. And she goes, oh, yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. Yep. Man, that's really haunted. And then the shrine that I go to is a Shinto shrine that's made by my distant relatives. and I go there to cleanse myself because I do a lot of work with the dead, and I talk to a lot of dead people, and I go there to cleanse myself too. And in that area, there's been like a massacre of a whole bunch of samurai warriors. They just unearthed a whole bunch of bones, and it's like my husband found the picture and he sent it to me in a messenger. I said, "Holy cow!" And he goes, "Yeah." Like there's a whole bunch of decapitated heads. There's a whole bunch of skeleton remains. I think as the time went on, the sand kind of like grew more and more and went on top of the bodies, and so you couldn't find it. But there's just full intact bodies and skeletons there. So that's what I think they had shrine there, and it's one of the most biggest haunted areas in the western part
Oh
of
well.
yeah. And they had a lot of samurai sword fighting and crazy stuff happens. So along the beaches where people go swimming, uh if you take a still picture, you can see a hand coming out of there and go ooh, or you can see a face of a samurai warrior that is ooh. It's kind of it's interesting, but it's real creepy.
Sounds creepy but interesting at the same time.
Yeah, it's just
Right.
different. Like Amanda said, yeah. um I don't think people know how to, if you're an empath here, they don't know how to cross over a spirit who's wandering, so they just leave it alone and go on to the next one, right? They don't know what to do with it afterwards. Like my son, he's like that too. He sees something and he leaves it alone and he tells it to leave. And that's it. That's about all there is. And that's how they deal with it in this country.
All right. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's the first thing I was excited to do when I got here. That's the first thing I looked up when I got here was the
Yeah.
Japanese paranormal because I'm like, I'm going to be in Japan. I'm going to join the paranormal community in Japan. I'm
Yeah.
going to go and investigate all these places. And then I realized there is no such thing here. And that
Yeah.
made me so sad.
Yeah. And then
I was
she started reaching out, and I said, and then finally I got her, and when then we became friends, and we said, you know what, we're the only two that's here, right, that's gonna talk about it. He goes, oh my god, you're kidding. Oh, yeah. It's
I
just
guess
yeah.
people in Japan either they're not, even if they are into the paranormal, they do post something because we've tried reaching out to
Hmm.
many people, trying to network with many people, and they're either behind the camera, so
Hmm.
you can't see who they are. They don't
Hmm.
show their face, or they blur their face, or
Hmm.
they wear a mask.
Hmm.
DMs are closed, anyways.
Yeah. So
Same thing
I
with people who report on all the because Japan has like a thousands of urban legends. There's
yeah.
people that report on Japanese urban legends here in Japan, but their DMs are not open. Like I've tried messaging them, it says will not go through. So I'm like, trust me, I've tried to reach out those people,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it says it's closed.
We both have tried, and you know what? My answer was, ooh, and that's how you say in W, as kind of like ha 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 in English. So that's what they said. I go, okay. Even
I
I
heard,
tried.
yes. Other than that, yeah, they don't respond or they
Yeah,
just because
Wow.
or
trust
they
me, like
laugh
I
at.
said, I've reached out to those people.
Yeah, it's really hard to find anybody who will come up and say something, and we say, yeah, we'll be respectful. You don't have to worry about it, but
Hmm.
it doesn't happen. So I said, okay, what's next? Now what do we do, Amanda? Like we're just going, we're sitting here scratching our head, you know. But I'm. It seems like people are saying I got a lot of guts coming out and living here and coming out and saying that yeah I see spirits, yeah I can talk to them, yeah blah blah blah, but I've got a lot of guts saying that in this country. I said I know I do. But I mean, if they're gonna come after me, good luck, because you're not gonna persuade me not to, and I'm not gonna close my mouth. I'm not gonna hide.
There you go.
Yeah, but I will hide when it comes to my physician. I will hide when it comes to certain people, because I still won't come up and tell anybody what I do.
You can,
I
you
keep
really
my
can't here in Japan,
no, no.
unfortunately.
you learn to keep your mouth shut. You keep your eyes that way, right?
Yeah.
It yeah. Even Amanda, even with her situation where she lives in a little, well, a little country town, right? I think it's worse because you just
Well, it's mostly here. I mostly live in what we call the countryside of Japan, where it's
yeah,
mostly elderly compared to Irene, who's in Tokyo. So
yeah.
that's why we say my part of Japan compared to hers, just because obviously countryside compared to one of the biggest cities in the world,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
life is going to be a bit different from me and her.
I'll bet.
hmm
Yep.
So your initial concept in your head is a little bit different. So you have to conduct yourself a little bit different when you're in that area because you have to live there, and like country people like to talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Compared to the city people, like they talk. Yeah. So what? Okay, mind my own business. I'm gonna go this way. I don't care. Like like the way that I learned. I don't care what you think. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. Yeah. You don't like you can bleep it up your bleep, but in the country you can't do that, right? You have to live with these people around you, and
Oh, yep.
yeah, it's a little bit different. Where Amanda lives, the spirits are a heck of a lot different. They're sad. They were killed before their time. Um, they have a lot of pain. They have a lot of sorrow in them. So for her side, you see a lot of more dark shadows, more 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 I don't know. You could feel the energy. You could cry compared to my side. My side is more unaliving, and my side is kind of like, yeah, it's dangerous to a point where you don't look this way. You don't look that way. You just walk this way, and that's it. You don't look behind you. You don't look beside you because you can feel it. You can see it, but you don't associate with them.
Gotcha.
That's number one rule. But on her side, you could feel the energy, you could feel the pain, you could feel the sorrow. Like I'm meant to talk about where you live.
Yeah, here definitely is more of the tragic ones. I've seen the most shadow figures here than I have my whole entire life back in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what is just, and a lot of people are just like, how come you don't take photos of them or anything? And I'm just like, because they don't want me to.
Yeah.
And I know better than to try and make it more mad because it's more of I'm here, I'm watching you, this is my little territory. Because they seem very territorial of their little places they just decide to just be at. And it's one of those things, if this is my area, either don't be near it or at least be on the other side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just they don't want me taking a photo, so it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to cross your boundary
Mm-hmm.
just because I don't need to make you upset. I don't need to see what you're going to do.
Understandable.
Because they have occasionally entered my apartment, but not long. Just more of just let me know, kind of stand there when I see it, and they kind of then disappear. Because one of those, it's more of just let you know I can enter your apartment. So I think it's one of those. It's more of a warning. Like in
Right.
Mm-hmm.
case you decide to cross any of those boundaries, just remember
Yeah.
I will come.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not whatever you don't want me to take a picture. Fair enough. I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
They just want to be left alone. I don't know what it is. They like, I don't want to talk. I don't want my picture taken. I can be left alone.
I think a lot of it has to do with how they were killed or how they died on her side. So there was a lot of history with people who were married and they don't like each other anymore. Instead of getting a divorce, they go out and they kill their spouse.
Oh
And
well.
that
That's
happened.
down.
Yeah. You get thrown down the well, or you get strangled and you get thrown in the ocean. Like pick your choice, right?
Oh yeah, because the bay is also right behind my apartment building. So there's been times where I've heard the screams of the victims there too.
Yeah. And
That's
And
just
it's so weird. It's weird. I don't even know how to describe it. Like you hear the scream, and but it's somehow no longer. It's no longer
Exists.
human.
Yeah, and that's how her side is. It's really interesting because in Kyushu Island, there's 100, not 100, but near 100 haunted areas in where she lives. And my husband grew up in the same island. He said, "Oh, I know that area. Oh, I know that area. Oh, yeah, that area has that, and that." And as a child growing up in that island, it's like the known thing. Oh, yeah, that has that there. Oh, yeah, that has that there. Yeah, we learned that as a child, right? So they grew up learning about these urban legends in certain places, right? And they say, "Oh, that place is not too far away from my land. Oh, yeah, that place is not too far away from there. You know, I could take you there if you want to go there." Like, yeah. I mean, that's how they act about it.
And that's where I live in Kyushu Island down here.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. It's like it's almost like a different. The energy's different there, right? That island is more like they have more fruit trees. They grow vegetables. They grow a lot of fruit orchards there, and that's what they produce a lot of produce in that island because it's down south, and the temperatures are more favorable to these fruit trees than where I live. It's just totally different, and it's a beautiful island, no doubt about it. You're surrounded by
There,
ocean. It's beautiful. It's great for fishing if you're a fisherman. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's one of the beautiful places to visit. And they got a whole bunch of shrines, and they got a whole bunch of places that are beautiful for sightseeing. It's just wonderful, right? But they have a lot of freaky dark history because the um the Spanish ship and the Portuguese ship first landed on Kyushu Island, and so there's a lot of history with the Catholic Church coming, and they're bringing the religion first to Kyushu Island. So there you'll find a lot more Christians there in Kyushu Island than you have anywhere else where I live, and so there's a lot of tragic and darkness that happened on that island too because of that. So they paid the price, right, on that island. And you have the atomic bomb too. That and yeah, that's freaky because I got sick a couple times, and it's not because I had anything physical. It's more like paranormal,
Right.
and it, you you could visit it. You there's one place that if you have the stomach for it, you could go to the atomic bomb museum. That was one of the most freakiest places I've ever visited. And yeah, if you're really into the paranormal, if you're not grounded, like I just I just yeah, I didn't get into it till I was a little bit older, but I didn't know what was happening to me. But yeah, if you're not really grounded, it can affect you like in a really bad way. So yeah, you have to be careful. It's just
So,
one of the like, yeah.
Don, I think T Dawg was saying he has a few coming up this weekend. Is that
yeah,
what you were saying
Don.
earlier?
Yeah, Don. Friday night I'll be at Brushy Mountain Penitentiary. Saturday night I'll be at Fort Dupfield, and then Sunday night I'll be going back to Waverly Hills Sanatorium. So it's a triple header this weekend, 3 nights of investigating
Oh, that sounds interesting.
different locations, and then first weekend next month I'll be out in Nevada at the Nevada State Prison, and
Mm,
then the following night I'll be going up to Virginia City, Nevada to do the Washoe Club.
ooh.
Yeah, so yeah, we got still got quite a bit lined up for this year, but my daughter's getting married next month, so I got to slow down because I got a wedding to attend and pay for. So next month will be a little slow. I got one at the beginning of the month, one at the end of the month. I'll be back home in Indiana
Mm-hmm.
to do the Randolph Asylum out here in Winchester, Indiana,
Mm,
and then we'll see what October brings. I got a couple of things in October, and I think I got a date in November to go up to Iowa, back up to Edinburgh Manor up there. So,
mm.
and then there's a few in the works still, but we'll see how they go.
You just went to the Edinburgh, didn't
Yeah.
you?
Yes. Yeah. I was just there a
Like
couple
I saw
couple
the
weekends
picture,
ago.
right? Or
Yeah.
is I
Yeah.
unfortunately, people start getting messed up to me when I keep seeing pictures. I'm like, I think that's you who posted that photo.
Yeah, probably so. I always try to take pictures, do a little video work to show everybody what the place looks like, give them a tour of the location, and sometime if I'm able to, we like to do lives and show what people can see what the
Mm,
place looks like.
This is not even a joke. Investigations versus
Right?
wedding costs could be pretty
Exactly.
even. No, it is because I keep seeing memes of people who post on there, I have the most expensive hobby, and I'm just like, you're not even a ghost hunter. Try that and tell me how cheap you feel like your hobby is compared to paranormal investigations.
Exactly. Exactly. It
you
gets
know,
expensive.
and if you're not really into it, yeah, you gotta pick up another hobby because it's costly. It's rewarding to certain people only. It's not rewarding to not everybody, and not everyone will find it interesting or fun or fantastic. Or if you don't have the patience, yeah, don't get into this hobby because
Well, that's why a lot of people
yeah,
should go
yeah,
to a public event somewhere, hopefully either near them or at least in their state,
yeah.
instead of going because usually those places will have their own equipment already, so this way
Hmm.
you don't have to buy equipment, which I don't recommend until you at least do those public investigations to see if you actually like it or not, just because from someone who has done those public investigations, only because I wanted to go and go to the place. Obviously, with the bigger groups, it costs a lot less
Hmm.
than me, trying to rent it with a little group of friends.
Right.
But it's amazing how many people show up and they haven't really done any investigations. They just saw it on
Exactly.
TV, buy
Hmm.
equipment, and they show up, and then they realize this is boring
Yeah.
because it is a
What?
lot of sit around and wait. They don't realize that you're going to be a lot of it is you sitting in a dark room, looking like a
Yeah.
crazy person, looking like you're talking to yourself,
Yep.
hoping something responds back.
Well, that's why it's important to network because the more you network, the more people reach out to you and they want to hang out with you. That's how I met Don Martin here. She's up from Michigan. I'm in Indiana, and she reached out to me about a location here in Indiana that I was unaware of, an old Masonic lodge.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She said, "Hey, T Dawg, you need to come check this
I
place
told
out."
her about that place. I told her
Yeah.
about that place
Yes.
because
Okay.
I met the owner. I met the owner first, did a TikTok in his place, and he at the time, Matt was having a hard time getting people to investigate his location. I'm just like, and it's just because I don't think he really knew how to get the word out. So
Hmm.
that I started reaching out to people around Indiana. Luckily, Dawn was one of them, and she went there, and it kind of now it's starting to become more known because of that, which I'm happy for it. I've told Matt, like, I'm
Yeah.
happy this place is starting to finally book up for investigations because it
Right.
is really that Masonic Lodge is a really active place, but it
It
was
is.
so unknown at the time too.
Right. Yeah,
It.
it's definitely an interesting location. We got some. I went there once with Don, met her and her team, and hung out for a couple hours and did some work with them. And then earlier in the year, I went out there and stayed the night there and investigated. And we had some activity. wasn't just full blown crazy, but we definitely got some activity, some EVPs, and some strange occurrences for sure. So
When Dawn called me one time and she asked me if I can come on Messenger and I can talk to her. We can go through the place. So she called me and she took me through the place. I said, and there are things there that I don't even want to even go into, right? What happened there. And it was pretty bad. And it freaked out. I think it freaked out the whole paranormal group what happened, what I saw there.
right.
And there's it's not crazy. It's pretty disgusting and sad and horrifying. And you could see the spirits of the children embedded on the floorboards
Oh
in the
well.
base. Yeah, and I even took still photos of it too. And I'll share them to you later on. But I mean, it was just unbelievable. And there was a room that was blocked off, and they opened up the door. I said, yeah, you don't want to know what happened there. She goes, well, tell me. I said, okay, I'll tell you. And I told her what happened there. And yeah, it just sent chills and the hair on her arm just zing. And yeah,
I
she
kind
just,
of agree with this one, Dawn,
yeah,
from energy there, from feeling it.
yeah. Yeah, you have to be really 100% sure that if there's a demon or not, because you know that there would be if you felt it, but I don't think there is. I think there's a lot of dark energy.
I mean, there is one person who claims he is the devil, but as I
Yeah,
was, that's the one thing I even told Dawn was,
yeah,
yeah, this ghost said that he is the devil, but I really
Mhm.
don't think it
no,
could
Right.
be just one of those things where he's saying that to
yeah.
scare Matt and his wife. So
Right.
I
Well,
think,
Don and her team have done some good work there, though. They've put some invested interest into the location, and I've been back multiple times. Don's done a lot of research on her end on
yeah,
the location and its former location, because I guess that lodge was moved there from like a town 9 or 10
yeah,
miles
that's one thing I
away.
learned. It was moved over from its original location.
yeah,
Correct. So she's definitely putting in a lot of work there. The owner Matt, he's seems like to be a decent and well enough guy.
Yeah,
He's invited me to come back anytime I want, and I just haven't had a chance to get back out there yet. But
yeah.
definitely going to do some more
Yeah,
work out there.
I told him it's on my list of places I wanted to
yeah,
go.
yeah,
But I'm
Mhm.
like, right now I'm in Japan, so that's not realistic. But luckily, I was like, I want to see it, especially what everything he told me. And then finally, Dawn was able to get out there
yeah,
because there was only one person really kind of investigating at that time, and
yeah,
he told me it was one of the more haunted places. Most one of the places he's had the most activity at. And I kind of told Dawn, I'm like, it is brand new. This guy on TikTok said he has a lot of activity. However, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not gonna lie to you
hmm,
because I don't really know the dude either. So
hmm,
Right.
I'm like, I don't know this guy who's claimed he had all this activity. He could be faking it. I don't know because there's a lot
hmm,
of people out there who fake it. Luckily, when she got out there, she did confirm that she got a lot of activity, and I'm like, I
yeah,
trust you, so that confirms
Mhm.
it. So
yeah.
Right. Gotcha.
There's a lot of children there. This was that way. I found a lot of children there, and some of them were buried on the property
Oh
afterwards.
wow.
And yeah, it's just it's
Uh,
just not for everyone, right? Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's one thing wrong with you have a touchy feely person when you go in there. You see a lot of stuff that you don't want to talk about. And you go, yeah, that's not cool there. It's just one of those places where let's not go there. Let's just investigate it. Let's do that. And let's get the hell out of there afterwards,
Yeah,
right?
I could even imagine to have your abilities and see the stuff and feel the stuff that you feel. I'm just me. I have no kind of abilities whatsoever. So to hear stories coming from someone with abilities and the things you see and the emotions that you feel and stuff like that, I couldn't imagine what it'd be like, you know,
Yeah,
going to
I had
locations with
I
those
had
abilities.
break. I literally have to tell Don just a second. I gotta take a break. I gotta refocus myself because if I get too deep into it, it affects me physically, right? So I have to. Yeah, okay. Let's take 5 seconds out, okay? Because I was crying at one moment, and I said, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do that." Okay, we're g- we're gonna we're gonna level our head, meditate, come back in, and come back out again, and go. Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, that's
Right.
what I had to do when I was there. It's just totally different.
I can
Um,
imagine.
yeah,
But that's what got me doing my fear challenge. Essentially, is I don't have any abilities at all, and
mm,
I want to do something to, I guess, kind of make myself a little bit more vulnerable to the spirits, so they wouldn't understand that I'm not there to harm them. And
mm-hmm,
that's kind of how my challenge began. And I've been doing it for the last 5 or 6 years at all these different locations throughout the United States.
mm-hmm,
And I'm just trying to show myself that I'm there to hear what they got to say. I'm vulnerable. I'm chained up. I'm blindfolded. I'm not gonna get up and run
mm-hmm.
away. Um, you
Yeah,
know, and
even
and
though you
and,
should,
and I
you think you
and I
know
try to relate with them. I don't come in there provoking them. I don't, you know. trying to run them down the stairwell or nothing like that. I mean, I keep it real with them and try to relate to either the individual spirits that are supposed to be there or the history of the location.
Yeah.
And it's worked out pretty well for me. I've got some good interaction over the years.
Mhm.
Some a little more crazy than others, and then a lot of places they're just quiet. You know, I mean, I'll be
Yeah.
in there for 45 minutes to an hour, and it's
Mhm.
absolutely quiet. Nothing happens at all.
Yeah.
So
That's one thing we tell people is it doesn't matter if you're in the most haunted place on earth, it
Yeah.
still can be hit and miss.
exactly,
There's no rhyme or reason on when, sometimes they just don't want to interact, sometimes they do. And it
yeah,
might not be you, it might just be them saying, I'm tired of doing this
Yeah.
tonight. I'm gonna be in this corner alone. I don't want to be messed with. And it is what it is. You can
Yeah.
have good nights, you can have bad nights. So that's
of
also
course,
why people have got to stop
Mhm.
comparing themselves to other teams who've been that location. I'm like, they just might have had a better night. The next
exactly.
Mhm.
time they go back, they might have a bad night, and next time you go back, you might have a better night. Who
Yeah.
you
For sure.
don't know.
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna get. I mean, we put all this time out on the road traveling to these locations, and yeah, it's kind of like a gamble of what you're gonna get. You know, I mean, it's
Yeah, that's
kind
what
of
we
like
tell people. Don't compare yourself to another team that's been there. Just
Mhm.
because they got evidence doesn't mean they're a better team. Just because you got more evidence than that they did last time doesn't mean you're a better team. And I wish people would stop thinking that, like, oh,
Mhm.
I got this great evidence this night, and this team went after me. They got nothing. I must be the better team. I'm like, no,
yeah,
it doesn't
yeah,
work like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hit. It doesn't matter the most skilled person is gonna have hit and miss night. That's one
Mhm.
thing they also say with these paranormal shows that people look up to, that a lot of it that's filmed in one night is actually within 2 to 3 weeks, and they just wear like the same
Mhm.
outfit, so it looks like it's the same night, and it might be
Mhm.
what they caught between 2 to 3 weeks, and it's just
Mhm.
enough, barely
Yeah,
enough for like an episode.
exactly. Yep, I agree.
Tim, I
Yes.
wanted to say, since you were born in Okinawa, it'd be
hmm
a great place for you to go back and see the history,
I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love
mm,
to.
because it's one of the really craziest haunted places, islands ever. Like from World War II to a lot of these little islands around Japan are haunted too because they did have a lot of war activity. So you're gonna find a lot of bones in a lot of caves where people died. You're gonna find a lot of interesting, weird things going on. And yeah,
Yeah,
I,
that would be awesome to come back there and investigate. You know, Japan and see where I was born because like I said, I don't remember anything about Okinawa at all. I was too young to remember anything. Um, and it would be interesting to capture some, some samurais, AVPs, or no, or just to hear a different language because I've only had one language come through in an EVP other than American, and I believe it was either Russian or German. And it
mhm,
wasn't a way that they were speaking in that language, but you could tell they was either Russian or German because they had an accent. And I asked them what their name was. It was at a hotel
mhm,
out in St. Louis, Missouri, and
mhm,
I can't remember what the place is called at the moment. But I was in the bar and I asked them, "Well, what was your name?" And it was like either a Russian name, something Borkov or something. It was either Russian or German. But other than that, I've never really, to my knowledge, captured a foreigner's voice other than an American. So that would be cool to be
mhm.
somewhere different because then if I caught something, I could be like, "Hey, Irene, how did you know what this is? Tell me what this says. That way I know, So that would be cool for me to come out there and just do
Yeah,
it out of my environment and in a whole different environment. That would be really neat. I'd
I
love.
Yes and no to that, just because I'm gonna go ahead and answer what
yeah,
my belief is, and I'll say my belief because people you might believe something different.
mhm,
But going answering on if they think spirits they know other languages once, or they're able to understand me being in a different country, and there is a belief that some people have that once you pass, you somehow learn other languages, and I feel like that's definitely true because I tell them here in Japan, there are spirits that obviously just speak Japanese, but they're able to communicate with me in English.
Okay.
So it's one of those. Yes, they when they were passed away, they only knew Japanese, but yeah, they did understand me and they were able to talk to me in English. So I do think
Yeah.
that they kind of learn other languages. So even if you
Yeah.
come over here and maybe they died and they only spoke Japanese,
Yeah.
they might communicate with you in your language. I
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
some people say they just know a lot of different languages. Some people say up to like the 5 bigger ones.
Right.
Whatever it is, I know at least English is on there because, like I said, I mean, I've communicated with Japanese ghosts too.
Yeah. I think they learned to adapt to other languages after they
Yeah,
died.
that's why I also say that's also like kind of our belief, just because not everyone believes it, because they're just like, there's no way you can talk to Japanese ghosts.
I
And I'm
mean,
like, I have though.
it's definitely an interesting theory. I mean, it sounds pretty legit. I mean, I know, I like I said, I haven't been overseas to investigate, but I mean, it sounds, it could be plausible. Yeah, for sure.
But you also have to think about the older ghosts that some people have captured, because obviously language has kind of changed. I don't really want to say changed throughout the years, but it kind of has different
Mhm.
slang words, or
Right.
obviously the English that we use now wasn't probably the same as when he came to America. They
Right.
might
Mhm.
word things differently, so they are able to, what Irene says, either adapt or kind of just know our
Yeah.
language more.
Gotcha.
I think you might not find a lot of samurai warriors. You might find a lot more war related deaths there. So you find a lot of soldiers there. Uh, because they do have a war museum in Okinawa. I've been there, and yeah, and it's dedicated to the soldiers. So they have a lot of uniforms, a lot of they have this big pile of helmets that were fused together, and afterwards they brought it into the museum. But yeah, you'll find a war related deaths there, and you'll find the spirits that were in the war more there and around the other islands in Japan, which are part of Tokyo now. But yeah, the little islands all around have found more remains of soldiers more than samurai warriors. So that you'll find a lot there too.
Right.
And recently, this Ogasawara Island is off of Tokyo, but you have to take a boat to go there, and it takes 1 day and a half to go there. Apparently, they've unearthed a whole bunch of um, human remains there, and they're skeletal remains, but they were found that they're from the war,
Oh well.
and yeah, and so the I think the government has hired a helicopter to um bring back the bones to Tokyo so they could be processed and properly cared for.
Right.
Yeah. So I think there's a whole bunch of islands around Japan that Ogasawara Islands is more of a beach resort, and yeah, it's just riddled with human bones from the war. So I think there's
Crazy.
more out there that we don't know. I bet you that
I'm sure
island's
there is. Yeah. I mean, it's just like any other place in the world. You know, the world has got a lot of history, and whether it's good or bad, or
yeah,
wars or whatever. I mean, there's
yeah,
probably things out there and always different cities and countries that we're still unaware of as a civilization today. That we're
yeah.
unaware of,
And I
that
think we're
haven't been
just
documented,
discovering them.
whatever.
Yeah,
Of course, yes, for sure.
and they're just discovering them even to this day. So we don't know, right? And I think we have to make more of an effort to learn more.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I think it's really interesting what's happened, right?
Mhm.
It it's dark, it's crazy, but
But it's
it's
history nonetheless. Whether it's dark, crazy, good or bad,
yeah,
it's history nonetheless. And some
Yeah.
people, don't look at that the way. They don't want to think about the bad things that have happened over the years. Well, you kind of have to, because it's history either way.
hmm
Not saying you got to praise anybody for the bad things that have happened throughout the history, but it's still history nonetheless. So you got to take it for what it is, and move
I
forward.
think
Yeah.
I think I think it's part of learning what not to do,
Of
learning
course.
what happens afterwards,
Yep.
and it's devastation no matter what side you're on,
Oh, yes, most definitely.
and to learn and not to do it again. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, governments are, they're all politicians. They'll want to win. And so yeah,
Yeah.
and there's
Well,
nothing.
they say history has a problem with repeating itself as well. So
Oh, it definitely is because they're teaching they're teaching less of the history now, especially when it comes to the Civil War. And I'm just, especially ever since the statues in America went down,
hmm
they're teaching less kind
Yeah,
of on the important things on the Civil War. Like they're barely touching slavery. It's kind of just, if you talk to kids who learned about it, it's just kind of basically just kind of casually just mentioned.
I
That's
mean,
basically it. They're
right,
just like, oh, the Civil War. The Civil War was started because the North had money and the South wanted it, so it's distribution of wealth
hmm
yeah,
and a little bit of slavery. And I'm like, ugh.
right.
yeah,
I don't know why we're pretending it didn't happen. Was it
yeah.
terrible? Yes, but
But
we have to stop acting like it never happened.
yeah,
Right. I agree. I agree.
and I think people, and most ridiculous comment that I've ever heard on Facebook from a person said, "Oh, you know what? The atomic bombs that are made now are better because they're this bad." I go, "Huh?" I go, "What?" I went, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah, because you can survive and you won't get hurt." I go,
You won't get hurt for what?
Huh.
"Yeah." I said, "What?" I said, "Oh my God, what planet is this person?" Like, okay,
Because it's the school system's starting to fail more and
yeah,
more now. I'm just gonna be honest. You talk to kids younger now, how
uh,
much they're taught versus what we were taught is it's a lot different.
ugh, like,
Well, if you guys had the opportunity to go get back to the paranormal subject, if you guys had the opportunity to go to some place in the world, where would it be? What would be your like number one go to location or what?
jeez, I don't know.
There's nothing that stands out. I mean, do you guys like the old prisons? Do you guys like the old battlegrounds? What
Well,
stands
definitely
out to you?
Alcatraz would be one
Yeah,
of them.
Yes.
But at the same time, I would love to see the lore of where Dracula started, just because everyone's
yeah,
seeing
me
pictures
too.
of this was supposedly his castle. I would just love to see that in person,
I
Yeah.
want to go there.
just
I want to go
because
to
I'm
Glass Castle.
just
Yeah.
because I'm curious on where that lore started. Then obviously with that, I would love to see places in New Orleans that supposedly has a lot of vampires now. I'm
Yeah.
just more curious on where lore started.
I was just down in New Orleans back in June, and
Hmm.
that city has a vibe and a feel to it like no other
Yeah,
place I've
I've
ever
heard
been.
that.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah. I mean, and if you hear the stories, I talked to some locals, and I didn't really do any investigations while I was down there because I was down there with my family.
Hmm.
But I definitely had to check some places out and do some research on some locations. And yes, the locations down there, the old places from the 16, 1700s that are still standing in the French quarters, and uh, the voodoo magic. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
a totally
So
Yeah.
different
I
world
want to
down
see
there.
that too.
But
Me
I would
too.
also love to be able to talk to a spirit in Salem just because someone made a good point. I mean, Salem, everyone dresses up like witches. There's all these witch museums and this and that. And they're just like, I
Hmm.
wonder how the spirits from then actually feel about that because you were wrongly accused of being a witch.
right,
You probably were unalived from being found guilty of something you didn't do. And they're like, I wonder
Yeah.
how they actually feel
Yeah.
watching people walk around looking like witches. I'm like, that's a good point.
yes,
Because it is, they're like, is it like an FU to them? It's like, you were
Yeah.
accused of being a witch, and now we're just going to act like witches in Salem.
hmm
Yeah.
I'm like, you have a fair point. I would love to actually try and talk to a spirit, see how they actually feel about that.
Of
Yeah.
course. That's
And
why we do what we do, to find answers.
Yeah, and I'm like, I want to know now.
Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
a good point. And I'm like, I've never thought about that, but yeah. Because
Mhm.
think about it, you're wrongly accused, you lost your life for it, then all of a sudden nowadays people are just walking around claiming they are witches like it's nothing. It's like,
Right. Yeah,
And
it's
you
crazy.
but
know,
what if they are?
that's another subject here. That's in Japan. They had the same thing that were called witches because they were females, and they were labeled as witches because they used the same medicine as the doctors were males only in this country. Right? It was really sexist. Let's put it that way. A long time ago.
So I
And
think that's all over. If you
yeah,
healed with herbs,
yeah,
you're a natural healer. You weren't. Your people thought you're more of a witch. That also happened in
yeah, yeah,
Pendle Hill in the
yeah,
UK. That
yeah.
most of the people who were accused were just natural healers. They use herbs.
And you were
They got
treated
accused.
really brutally in this country.
Hmm.
It was really bad what happened to them. It's not just the person who was accused, but the whole family, except for the husband, was treated really brutally because of that.
Wow.
And yeah, I don't. I want to find out the places what happened, where it happened, but like I'm telling you, man, like looking for history of that is like looking for like I don't know. They don't have history places here. They don't have records here, right, Amanda?
No.
Hmm.
And if I want to find out of something what happened in the past, good luck, because I'll never find it. If they did have it, it was probably shredded, and you'll never find it. So
Crazy.
yeah,
It's like, like they're erasing history.
yeah,
Or
uh,
trying to, or hide history, I guess, whatever you want to call it.
because it was bad, right? They don't want if that land was being sold what it is being sold now. They don't want the person who's buying the land to find out it was bad,
No.
right? So that's why they tried to shred it and try to remove whatever it is because there's a lot of places that have been sold that build apartment buildings, condominiums, and places like that where I lived that I don't know the history of it. It was so bad that I had to move out. And yeah, I mean, Amanda knows it was so horrible. Like every day, you're lucky you're alive.
Wow.
Yep. And then I'd say to the next person who's buying it, I don't want them, even my worst enemies, to move there. And yeah, it's still sounding even to this day. It's 45 minutes from where I live. Yeah. But I
Huh.
mean, shit.
Going back to this question, how can you tell if something that's with you is good or not good? It's that'd be harder for me to even answer just because I'm also gifted, so I can feel it. I don't know how
Yeah.
to describe it. I can just feel it. That's also one thing that's with my gift though too is besides feeling your emotions, I can feel energy. I can also feel energy around a person on how if it's good or bad or what's going on. But I
Mhm.
think usually, and T Dawg, let me know if you've maybe ran into an angry spirit. But usually, I would say I've heard of them saying "go away."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe they might throw something, scratch someone.
Or touch it F off, right? That's
Yeah,
Yeah,
another one they do.
I've had that before. I've
Yeah.
been told to get out of places and this
Yeah.
and that. So
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't have any abilities again, like I said, but I would imagine it would be kind of like how you are in your everyday life. You get vibes from people when you
yeah.
meet them, whether you think they're
That's what
good or
how I
bad.
explain it.
So
Yeah.
I can imagine being sensitive. It would be kind of the same way, but just in a different kind of area, I guess. Uh,
Yeah,
you
And the
know,
answer to that question, if you feel like you're kind of like suicidal, or you feel like you're kind of off, you know, because you're not yourself, or you
you
hmm
feel
feel
like you
emotions that somehow you don't. Somehow you know it's not your own. Like I can't explain it either, but it's
yeah,
one of those things where it's happened to me where I've had emotions where I can tell it wasn't even mine.
yeah, you're in a dark place, or you feel really angry, or you feel really sad, or you feel like you're gonna cry yourself to death, right? those your mixed emotions, and then you think, that's not right. There's something wrong here. You have to step outside of yourself and say, now how can I stop this? Right? There are several ways to stop it by taking a salt bath, or putting a a lavender underneath your pillow when you go to sleep, or spreading salt around your bed, pink salt around your bed. Yeah, there's several ways of helping you come out of it. But yeah, it's mostly prevention. It's mostly like um to stop that energy from coming on to you and taking hold of you. That's what you have to do. And before, when you go in a place, yeah, you have to prepare yourself. You have to make sure that you're in a good spirits, you're in a good mind, nothing's messing with your head. And um you you like what I usually like make little prayers before I go in there, protect me from any outside energy, and for anything dark that can come after me, and then go in there and come out, and thank you for protecting me, and thank you for helping me go through this place. Thank you for letting the spirit talk to me, and make sure that nothing follows you when you go home.
Makes sense. Though,
For me,
at the same time, since you guys do have abilities, and you were just talking about saying prayers before you go into a location to investigate, what do you think? Does that take any factor in if you're blessing and saying prayers before you go in, or if you're wearing medals or have what is it called, crystals with you? Do you think that deflects the spirits from interacting with you?
Some places don't give a hoot, right? I went to Hiroshima, and I went to the dome building. It was a trade center. I had all my crystals with me. I had everything that I was packing, right?
Hmm.
They still came after you. Like, they didn't give, but but what you had with you, they can still come after you, and they read you. It depends on the spirits that are there, what kind of spirit it is, because they can come after you whether you like it or not. And they came after me, and they came after my husband too. Like, they they tried to attack him by having these ants in a tree came rushing down and came trying to attack my husband. He had to run away from the area
Oh,
because
well,
it scared the heck out of me. He goes, "What the heck?" He goes, "Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!" And he freaked out. And he's kind of like insect person. Insects. He loves insects. It doesn't bother him. But that time, it really scared the bleepers out of him. And he said, "I gotta sit down on this chair, on this bench, about 5 minutes, like about maybe about 5 feet away from us." And he had to sit there, and he said, "Yeah, I'm not going to go up there, no, because obviously they don't like me. They don't want me talking to them. So yeah, they have likes people who they like, and there are people who they don't like. And if they don't like you, you're gonna know right away."
right.
So yeah.
Well, okay, so I got another question since you guys are kind of sensitive and you guys might be able to give me an answer or have a better understanding. When it comes to EVPs, uh, you got some times where you're not hearing it with your own ear, but you'll catch it on audio or video. But
Hmm.
then you'll get times where you'll hear disembodied voices
Hmm.
and you'll hear it with your own ear, but you won't catch it on audio or video. What are your thoughts on EVPs as far as how you can hear it with your own ear and not catch it on audio, or hear it on the audio but not hear it with your own ear when you're in the same room? If you catch it on your recorder and you listen back later to see that you caught it, but at the moment you didn't hear it with your natural ear, why do you think that is? I've been trying to figure that out because I've had situations where I've
they
caught.
said it's the frequency, I guess,
Yeah.
because I guess audio recorders can record different frequencies compared to
Yeah.
what we can hear. So it might just also be that, and that's why they say always listen. That's why they also say ask a question, wait 30 seconds to a minute, and then play back to see if you hear the answer.
Because I've had moments where I've caught the same voice on audio, video, and physically heard it with my own ears. But then
Hmm.
sometimes I've had situations where I've just heard the disembodied voice, but neither picked it up on audio or video. So that
There's enough.
phenomenon is just as me, it's got me curious, and I've been curious about it for a while.
there's another theory about it, right? Sometimes that voice was only meant for you and not for anybody else to hear.
It could be, yeah, telepathically they can
Yeah,
communicate too.
they want you to know, but they don't want anybody else to hear, right? And
Gotcha.
there's another thing about it is like I hear them. I can talk to them. We can have full blown conversations in my house, right? I have a window here where they come in. Um, and then one of them saying, "Yeah, you can hear me." I go, "Yeah, okay, okay, we'll talk later, okay." Just a second. But anyways, yeah. I mean, yeah, we can have full blown conversation, and it's sometimes I meant to hear it. Sometimes you're not meant to hear it, or sometimes they just want to tell you personal what they were talking about, and and like I like the equipment as to confirm what you're hearing was what I heard, right?
Mhm.
Or understanding, yeah, that's exactly what I heard.
Right. Okay.
But I don't use equipment when I do something. I use only my ears and what I have in here, and that's how I hear it, and that's how I
You're
see
your
it.
own tool. You're your own equipment. You don't need none of that. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
appreciate that.
But I like other people who have equipment to confirm what I heard
Of
was
course.
right, right.
Of course.
For people who don't hear it, for
Right.
people who can't see it, right? But I don't know if I could. Yeah, I don't think you can have equipment to show. Yeah, this is who I saw because I don't think that works like that. Anyways, yeah. But there's something about these beepy toys, right? Um, Sometimes they say, "Oh, ask question. Oh, it beeps," or cat ball goes, "Yeah, bleeps off." How do you know that was what they were trying? So yeah, I question that one too. Like, okay, yeah,
Well,
whatever.
as long as people keep building equipment, that they say is can be used in a paranormal field, people are going to use it, whether it's accurate or reliable enough. It's just the way it's going to be, and people are going to have
Yeah.
their own feelings about what equipment they use. Me myself, I prefer more video and audio. I feel like that's going
Mm,
to give you more chances of getting some incredible evidence or something that's more likely paranormal than some gadget beeping or lighting up. Um, but I do like anything that's motion censored. I am kind of fond of motion censored
mm,
equipment because if you got uh, a REM pod sitting down at the other end of the hallway and it's 100 feet from you and it goes off and there's no one in that area, then
yeah.
most of those have like a 3 foot barrier. If you get too close to them, they'll go off. So I kind of do like those in a way, but as far as like a lot of this other equipment, I'm very picky about what I use. I like the EDI meter.
Mm-hmm,
The EDI meter's got 5 different functions in it, and it's I've had mine for a few years now, and it's been pretty accurate as far as
mm-hmm,
uh, different things I've done with it, experiments, and it doesn't give a lot of false positives. And
mm-hmm.
that's what we need more of in the paranormal community is we need more equipment that gives us less false positives because you got so many people out here getting excited about different devices going off. Let's talk about the SOS camera, for instance. It
Yeah.
sometimes it picks up on metal objects.
Mm-hmm,
And in a
Yeah.
lot of these old locations, there's metal stairwells, there's metal chairs, there's metal this, metal that, pipes everywhere. And people are seeing objects pop up on our SLS cameras, thinking
yeah.
that they're entities when really it's just picking up on the metal in that location.
Yeah. And sometimes it, I find there's a lot of toys out there, okay, and they're
Mhm.
really expensive. So yeah, you gotta really think of what you're gonna buy and how much you're gonna spend on it,
Of
right?
course.
Because
And yes, Carol, I do believe storms can make activity heighten. Yes, I do believe
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
so with that, I would definitely say here in Japan, going back to the earthquakes we just had, them saying we're gonna have a mega one coming up. The energy here, Irene and I both feel it. The energy here has just been so heightened where
yeah.
since the first earthquake, neither her and I have gotten a decent night's sleep.
I can't.
We can just feel the energy here is just beyond.
Do
I
you,
don't even know how to explain it.
do
It's
you think
off
it's
the
the
hook.
energy as of a reminder of what's happened there throughout the years, like previous earthquakes that have happened through the past?
Well,
And
totally. Earthquakes hitting here tend to, even when they hit Irene and I don't really feel it, I'll still feel the energy from it. And it does definitely. That's when all of a sudden the paranormal activity kind of
Yeah.
is
Because
heightened.
people have, or it's like someone else on the other side's reliving that moment from back whenever in time, and they're like, "Oh my God, here
Yeah,
they come!" You
well,
know.
especially like ghost cabs, people can tell you after an
Yeah.
earthquake, and especially after like a hurricane or typhoon
Mhm.
or whatever
Yeah.
hits Japan,
Yeah.
that they have a lot. They have a lot more ghost riders where they'll pick them up,
Mm.
they'll have a full blown conversation with them, and then when they get to the destination, they turn and they're gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Here in Japan, taxi drivers, the passenger cannot open and shut the door. The taxi driver has to. They usually have a button or a lever or something, but they're the ones who has to open and close the door for you, not the
Yeah.
passenger. So that's how you can't say if the driver didn't open that door, he knows they couldn't have just jumped out to try and not pay the fare.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just, and you know what? When you go outside, you could feel the energy in your face, especially now. I could feel it. It's just different. I can't sleep. I just can't rest. It's just,
We
Wow.
I
both
don't know.
have not slept since
Yeah.
like
So
last.
I guess that's one of the downfalls of having abilities and being sensitive is, you get these different emotions or thoughts or spirits coming through that just kind of interrupt your life. Now, is there a way that you guys have to try to block that out, or is it just there all the time and
It's
you
just
try to ignore it
there,
as much?
unfortunately. Like especially after earthquakes, it's just there, and
Yeah.
especially I probably will say that the big one is coming just because the energy has just been more crazy lately than usual.
Yeah. It's kind of off. It's in your face. Me, I'm still, for me, I just don't go outside anymore. I've been like that for a long time now. I find myself a prisoner in my own house because
Well,
you don't have to find anything paranormal. You don't have to pay anything to go see paranormal here. You just go inside your front door. Yeah, there's that, and that, and that. And
mm,
you stay in your place, I'll stay in my place. I'm gonna go this way, you look that way, and don't bug me, and I won't bug you. That's the kind of attitude that you have to have.
oh, well,
Yeah. So you don't have to go to any events to see anything paranormal in Japan,
right,
right?
of
It's
Mhm.
course.
just, yeah. You train stations, some of them are really bad, some of them are really haunted. Yeah, some of them we advise you not to go there after 3 a.m. when the doors close, when automatic doors closes. You shouldn't go there, you shouldn't be on the platform, blah blah blah. They'll say stuff like that because it's really haunted, right? And there are a lot of places where you parks where you can't go after 9 o'clock because they lock the doors because it's haunted.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was after the war, and this beach that I know is beautiful, right? And it's off the park, but it happened after World War II. People were going in the park. There's no sight of them. There's no body, no nothing of them afterwards. And apparently, soldiers died on the beach, coming on the beach
All right.
from the ship or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they perished. And now the place is so haunted. You shouldn't go there after 9 o'clock at night. And you know what? I tried Googling it. I can't find anything because they don't want you to know.
That's unfortunate.
Oh,
Anyways, everyone, this is past the time that Tim had today. We'll definitely have to have him back for
For
yeah,
part
sure.
two. Tim,
Anytime.
thank you so much for joining us
yeah.
today.
Thank
Oh,
you.
no, it was a pleasure and honor. I appreciate you guys having me on.
We'll have
Yeah,
to have you on again.
yeah.
And
Come
everyone,
back again. We will have part two. And we'll talk more.
Yeah, for
everyone out
sure.
there, thank you so much for joining. We'll see you
Yeah.
next time. Bye for now.
Thank
Bye.
you.